Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. So today I'm going to use my Cricut Maker 3 and I'm going to do some experiments. So I've had tons of questions about smart materials and whether other brands of both vinyl and HTV will work without a mat in the Cricut Maker 3 and Cricut Explorer 3. So we're going to take a up close and personal look at the inside of the Cricut Maker 3, feed in some smart vinyl, smart iron-on, take a look at the way that those feed in, and then try some other brands. So the way we're going to do this is I have a variety of other brands here. Some come in super huge sheets that I'll just cut down to be the 13 inches wide that these smart vinyl and smart iron-on come in. Now, the brands that I have, like I have some Siser here that is only 12 inches wide. I'll just cut it 13 inches this way and then we'll feed it in the kind of the wrong way and see what happens. But in order to keep this fair, just to see what would happen, I had one of my favorite HTV suppliers, BFlex, and they cut me 2 different rolls of HTV that are 13 inches wide exactly that I could try in my Maker 3 to see what would happen. So we are going to try those as well. So those should be 100% equivalent to the iron-on that is the smart iron-on, and we'll see if they will work in the Maker 3. So all I have is the Maker 3. I don't have the Explorer 3 yet. So we're going to try all of our experiments in the Maker 3. So let's take a closer look and feed in the smart vinyl and smart iron-on first and see what that looks like, and then we'll start feeding in our experiments and you can take a look and see what happens. So I've told my machine I'm using smart materials and I'm going to use the Cricut Smart Material first. So I have a project that calls for a 9.25 inch, so 13 inches by 9.25 inches long. And then we're going to feed in, this is the Cricut material first, and we're going to start with the smart iron-on. So I'm going to hold it against the rollers and press the button to load. And you can see it feeds in perfectly, which was what I expected. So let's take a little bit of a closer look inside here. So what I want you to see is that this material is flat all the way across here. This is going to be important later, but the smart iron-on when fed into the machine is completely flat. So let's feed in some smart vinyl and take a look. So this is a roll of smart vinyl. I'm going to feed it in the same manner. So I'm going to hold it against the rollers and just let the machine feed that in. Alright, so if you'll notice, it looks pretty much similar to the smart iron-on once fed into the Cricut Maker 3. It's completely flat across here and it looks ready to cut, right? So let's remove it and let's add another material. So all the way to the side here, and it hits the 13 inch mark on this side. So this is a 13 inch. So it's all the way to the side on this side of the ruler, and if I move it over here, it is all the way to that 13 inch mark. So it is a 13 inch piece of Siser iron-on, and I'm going to feed that into the machine the same way that I have for the smart iron-on material. So I'm going to hold it against the rollers and I'm going to press the button to load. So what I want you to notice about this material is as it loaded up, it also wrinkled up. So you can see these wrinkles in the material after it's loaded into the Cricut Maker 3. So this makes it basically impossible to cut. Like, you can see how wavy this is and how much it sticks up. This is not going to cut well. So let's unload this one. And I thought perhaps like Glitter HTV is, you know, thicker, and this is a sheet of glitter Siser HTV. And so let's feed that into the machine and see what happens. So hopefully you can see it's not quite as wavy, but there are some pretty significant bumps. This one especially, and one right here. So again, it's way too wavy to actually cut in the Cricut Maker 3. So let's remove that one. So then, like I said, I thought it was perhaps my cuts because I'm doing those manually. So I had BFlex cut me a 13-inch wide roll of HTV. So now I'm going to feed this into the Cricut Maker 3 in the same way. So I'm going to hold it against the rollers. And I'm just going to press the button to feed it in. And again, the same thing happens. So hopefully you can see that on the video with these waves or bumps all in the HTV all the way across the machine. So let's move on to adhesive vinyl and see what happens with that. All right, so this first brand of vinyl is from Happy Crafters, and it's actually their, this is actually printed HTV, but you cut it with this side up and it comes in really large sheets. So I am actually going to try to feed this through. So the same thing on this HTV, which has like a different backer. Again, huge waves in it that really would not cut correctly. So let's try a holographic vinyl. A lot of times those are really thick, so I thought that might be a good experiment. And we'll just put that into the machine. This one isn't horrible. There are a few areas that aren't held down really well, but let's go ahead and try to cut this one and we'll just see what happens. So apparently when you cut without a mat, you cannot click the play button again to cut a second time. So I guess I don't have any option but to unload this, even though it's probably not cut through. So, I mean, I did pick the wrong setting, and it's definitely not cut all the way through. So let's just try Oracal 651, see what happens. So it's laying pretty straight. So I'm gonna go ahead and click the play button and cut this project. All right, so those appear to have cut pretty well. So I'm going to unload this. And then this is a fairly simple cut, so we'll just peel these off. And the cut looks really, really good. So I just cut Oracal 651 on my Maker 3 without a mat. So there you have my one success story, and that was the Oracal 651 cut without a mat on the Cricut Maker 3. So I think the bottom line is, first of all, there are no materials on the market that currently come in a 13-inch width. So if you want to experiment with it, you sort of need to make your own. But then, like, this sheet of Oracal I cut it from a regular size roll, so it's 13 by 12. So yes, I can cut it without a mat in my Maker 3, but I'm super limited to size, even more than I was before. Then the next hurdle is going to be finding those materials that feed in without them being wavy. And I will say some of these, like, you might have to feed them in multiple times to get them where there are a few enough waves where you think that they'll cut correctly. And then a lot of times when it's cutting, if you'll notice in the video, it wrinkles up as it cuts because it's not the Smart material. It doesn't have the special backing that the Smart material has, and it doesn't feed through there correctly. So the Smart materials do work way better with the Cricut Maker 3 at least, and I'm sure the Cricut Explorer 3 is the exact same scenario, but I did have success with at least one. So maybe in the future, some companies will release those 13-inch rolls with the additional backer that maybe holds it flat within the Cricut Maker 3 and Explorer 3. But right now, I really don't see where you're going to be able to cut the other rolls with your machine. The 12-inch rolls that are currently available on the market just will not feed into the Maker 3 and Explorer 3 without a mat. Like, it's just not going to happen. So for me, for now, cutting matless with my Cricut Maker 3 and Cricut Explorer 3, I will be using these Smart materials from Cricut, both Smart Iron-On, Smart Vinyl, and even the Smart Sticker Paper Cardstock. But as you see, you can experiment with other brands by just cutting them to size. But hopefully this helps you answer that question. Can the Cricut Maker 3 and Cricut Explorer 3 cut other brands of vinyl and HTV without a mat? For me, the answer is not really. I guess it's kind of yes with this Oracal 651, but I think it would just kind of be hit or miss. I don't even think the Oracal 651 would work all the time. I think it would just be like, oh, I got lucky today and it did work, whereas the Smart materials work every single time. And the price point on the Smart materials is actually not too bad if you haven't looked. So definitely check those out as a price per foot if you've purchased the Maker 3 and Explorer 3 and are looking to cut without a mat. So I hope this helped you. If it did, please give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we've covered today, please feel free to drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I love doing experiments and you don't want to miss any of them. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.